There we are. Oh, good, now it can be seen. Wonderful. Well, 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 well. Good evening, all. I do hope everyone has had a glorious several weeks. Though I must confess I'm very, very upset that I was not able to join you these past several weeks. It is wonderful to see all of you again. I must say, now, let's get the TikTok chat running. Oh, heavens. There we are. Ha ha! Now, TikTok as well. Ah, glorious. Oh, and it looks so good too, I must say. Wonderful. Though, it does seem a little bit dark. Let's call it intimate. Well then. There. Candles are lit. Stories at the ready. I do hope everyone's had a spectacular week. I must say I have been quite busy here in the House of Nightshade. We have new offerings coming. We've got new... not necessarily new readings, however, we do have new products coming to the House of Nightshade very, very soon, and I must say it is quite exciting. Can't wait to give you all the tea. Not literally, though. At least not whilst we're collaborating with Bloodthirsty. Right then. Who's here with me? Anyone at all? I'm quite perturbed at how things are going as far as the attendance is concerned, I must say. Right then, let's get some ambiance going, shall we? I know I do need some. Let's see. Oh, I do see some people on the TikTok. Wonderful. Thank you so very much for being here. Still setting things up. I wanted to make sure that everything was going quite swimmingly right out the gate, but everyone knows how well that works with my things, I must say. Right then. Just waiting for our ambiance music to show up. Very, very important part of things, I must say. Well, if you are here with me, hello, please make yourself known. Let me know that you are here so that I don't feel so lonely by myself. What do they say? I'm only an elected official. I can't make decisions all by myself. Let's see. Ah, Sabrina Carpenter fan, hello. How are you tonight, my darling? My little sugar cube, my little opossum? You feel bad that you only have 3 people watching? Well, that means that you'll just have to share the live stream then, won't you? Invite more people to come in. It's all right. Quite all right. It has been a few weeks since I've been live, and I only do this once per week, so I'm not quite surprised. More so perturbed. There we are. Aha! Ambiance. Coming right up. And piping hot, I must say. Good, I think that we're... There we are. Oh, goodness, my internet connection. It may be the internet connection, I must say. It might be a little bit choppy, a little bit slow, a little bit frustrating. Though I suppose we'll find out presently, won't we? Galaxy Rabbit, Darren Nelson, well, hello. Good evening, darling. How are you? Reconnecting. Yes, I do see that the internet connection is a little bit choppy tonight. Oh, goodness. Do we have to restart the stream? Perhaps? We may need to. What are you all seeing? I simply must know. And we're almost ready to begin the stream. Almost ready to begin our story for tonight, where you vote upon every twist and turn. That's a very interesting looking thing. I wonder where all my moderators are tonight. I advertised this quite well. I don't understand. Where everyone is, we're 7 minutes in. And all we can do is make little pictures in the chat on YouTube? Quite frustrating. We may need to restart the stream. Not quite sure. How many of you, of those of you who are here, how many of you have visited me with the stream before? By show of emojis or simply just saying something. Livia Rodrigo girl, hello. Welcome. The Grey! Hello, the Grey! Yorson Reyes, are you demonic? No, darling, I'm not demonic. I'm simply delicious. Just sitting. Oh, I hope you weren't timed out because of that, the Grey. I'm so very sorry. That you subscribe. Yes, please do subscribe to the channel. Subscriptions are free. You know, I may actually just end for the evening. If more people don't come in. How I mean, the accent changed. Yes, every Thursday evening, I moonlight in the moonlight here in the West Wing Library of the Siren Grotto as the Lady Scarlett Nightshade. I read stories. We do choose your own adventure stories, where you get to vote on every twist and turn of the story, simply by placing different colored emojis in the chat when I give you the prompt. And it is so very much fun. Oh, it's glorious, darling. No, oh no, darling. Don't end it. Oh, all right then, I shan't. Though it does depend on how many more people decide to actually come, because I'm here every single week like this. Every single week. Now, I did miss last week because we've been in a little bit of a redecorating adventure here in the West Wing Library and in the House of Nightshade, as well as in the other parts of the grotto, I must say. It's been quite the adventure. I shall be posting before and after pictures, a little bit for the public, but mainly behind-the-scenes content for my lovely, lovely subscribers on Patreon. And Little twerps better show up or you're going to steal their souls and force them. Yes, the grey. I love your attitude, darling. My subservient little possum. Well, where on earth is everyone else? There! Emily the artiste has finally arrived. Darling, wonderful to see you. You're not the only one who's tardy, I must say. This evening, I'm staring at a grand total, including those who are on the TikTok. And gifting. Thank you so very much for gifting. I do appreciate you, Shani. Well, staring at a grand total of fewer than 10 viewers across all platforms. I'm streaming on Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, and Twitch this evening. 10. Where are hundreds of people? Is it because we're multi-streaming? Is it because we are? Because I thought that we had advertised this very, very well this time. Even despite a 2-week absence, last week for the redecorating project, and the week before because it was planning week here in Siren Grotto, and I always have to help Siren. Poor child can't do a single thing by herself, I must say. Mackenzie, hello. Hello, beauty. That just won't do. No, it simply will not. We're not seeing... We do need to spend some time solving, though. I must say, we must put a little bit of our thinking caps on for this one. It's a little bit of a poser. Ooh, pardon me. Ooh. A little bit of a poser as to why on Poseidon's green ocean, none of this. Can you do a pose to screenshot? You want to draw my face and put it on the channel? Oh, the grey, of course you can, darling. If you would like to send me your email address, I could even send you some press. How's that? Maybe we need to dial it back to a couple of platforms. That's not a bad idea. Or perhaps we need to keep experimenting with the day of the week. Thursdays seem to be the night to do these adventure stories, though. However, I can't decide whether it's Mondays or Tuesdays for singing. You got it. Wonderful. Wonderful. Glorious. Glad to hear it. Well, thank you in advance for anything that you're doing to help promote the stream. I do appreciate you. I appreciate you just coming and enjoying the show. Who's over there on TikTok? What are we doing here? Tried reading poetry or a book? Yes, darling. That is exactly what I do. Oh, let's find out what else is going on. Oh, goodness. You shall investigate presently. By Friday, perhaps. Fridays are a little difficult. Fridays are a little bit difficult because Siren spends a lot of time rehearsing, working behind the scenes, playing music. A lot of times there are local performances happening in Siren's neck of the woods on Friday evenings, and so we try to stay away from them. Not that very many people are going out on Friday nights anyways, so I hear. I don't get to go up to the surface very often. Spend so much time here in the laboratory, it's not even funny anymore. It's a little difficult when one is so efficient that then it becomes the task of one to carry the weight of the entire rest of the grotto. Right then. What are we doing? Emily, you call it, darling. What are we doing? Are we doing a choose-your-own-adventure story, or am I just sitting here waiting for more people to show up who just aren't going to come? What are we going to do? Or am I going to just call it quits for tonight and just spend the rest of the evening creating more content whilst I've donned the red hat? There is ever so much going on. One does not have to be present at the moment. You haven't seen me in forever. Oh, hello, darling. Regroup, start reading, they will come. Darling, the stories that we read depend completely upon the number of people in the chat. Though I do appreciate the feedback, darling. I've been doing this for quite a long time. All right, then. Well, then. Into the dark underground of the city. Let's start the story, then. I'll explain the rules of the game, and then we shall begin, and we'll see how many people show up. Shall we? And if it doesn't improve, then off I go. To something a little different for the evening. Here's how it works. I go into the grimoire. I read you an original story. We start off with a little bit of an exposition, a little bit of introduction, and then the twists begin. You will have two choices to make every few paragraphs or so. We choose a green emoji for yes, choice 1, right? Or a red emoji for choice number 2. When we reach those forks in the road, I shall read the two choices for you, and then you absolutely flood the chat with your vote of choice. Clear as substrate? Let me know that you understand the rules by flooding the chat with reds and greens right now. A merry rain, darling. I'm live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and on TikTok. Amber, hello, darling. Yes. Having a little bit of a hard time seeing the chat on TikTok because it doesn't show up on my computer screen. I do see red and green emojis coming in from everyone, though. Wonderful. Thank you so very much. Thank you for indicating your understanding. Well then, let's begin. You awaken in the dark, head pounding back against cold concrete. The last thing you remember is the alley, the deal, the code drop, the whisper that someone is watching. Now the city above is silent. Too silent. No rumble of trains. No flicker of neon signs. Just the buzz of failing power lines and the hum of something wrong. You rise to your feet. Around you, rusted grates bleed condensation onto graffiti-covered walls. The tunnel stretches out in both directions, lit only by flickering emergency lights and strange symbols pulsing faintly onto the damp floor, like veins beneath translucent skin. Two routes lie before you. To the left, a jagged security door hangs open, sparking where someone took out the lock. Faint music drifts from within. Not music exactly, more like a synthetic lullaby, woken with distorted whispers and glitching static. And to the right, a crumbling stairwell descends into pure darkness. Red handprints smear the wall, and an old sign above reads, Sector 0, restricted entry, biohazard containment. So, The city is dead, but the underworld still breathes. Choose your direction, Nightfall Society. That's all of you. Red for the left choice, if we're going to go left, and the siren songs of static. Or green for the right and the descent into Sector 0. Which way will you hack into your fate? Make your choice in the chats right now. Flood them. Absolutely flood them. Go as long as you can. Spam the chats with your choices. Thank you so very much. All right, I see green so far. The descent into Sector 0, it looks like. Oh, goodness, I see a red emoji over on YouTube. Well, it looks like the greens have it, though. They've completely flooded the chat with the greens. All right, then. Well. Choice 2 it is. I see the grey. The grey, I see you, darling. Unfortunately, red didn't win out this time. Perhaps on the next twist. Well done. Well, it seems you've made your choice then. We go into Sector 0. You descend into the stairwell. Each step groans underfoot as if reluctant to carry you deeper. The air thickens, stale with rot and heavy metal, the blood that's been recycled too many times. Red handprints streak down the walls, fresh despite the silence, smearing into long, dragged outlines. There are no lights here, only the faint crimson glow of the emergency strip lighting, pulsing overhead, barely functional, like the dying breath of a once living city. You reach the bottom. The concrete gives way to black tile, scuffed and cracked. Pipes hiss above, leaking coolant that pools along the edges of the hallway. The sign on the sealed door ahead flickers once and dies completely. Stenciled across its surface in faded yellow letters are the words, Protect Stratum. Subject Vault Access Level 0A. The keypad beside the door is shattered. Someone wanted this open. Or maybe someone wanted something out. The vault door itself hangs ajar an inch, cold mist curling from the from within, like breath from a sleeping beast. You push it open. The chamber inside is massive, an underground lab turned graveyard. Cryopods line the walls, most shattered, their contents long gone. Wires dangle like mechanical entrails from the ceiling, but one pod still hums, dimly lit, still locked, frost still blooming across the glass. Crazy bitch is here! Wonderful. Inside is a figure. Female. Eyes closed. Breathing shallow but steady. Tattoos line her skin like circuitry runes turned digital. And etched into the base of her pod. Subject 12. Class Wraith. Status unstable. She's alive, traveler, the last of her kind. Was she built to save the city or burn it to ash? It's time to decide the fate. Red emojis, let's override the lock and awaken the wraith within. Or green, back away, search the lab for files. Someone must have left records somewhere. Your move, Nightfall Society. Will you light the match? Or read the warnings first? Place your votes in the chat. Waiting, waiting, waiting. Oh, I see greens. Oh, I see a fair mix of reds and greens this time. Oh, goodness. What are we going to do? Red emojis, we override the lock and awaken subject 12 inside the pod. Or green emojis, we back away and search the lab for the files that may have some information about what's going on with these cryopods. What are we doing? So far, I see... Absolutely flood the chat. Completely flood the chat. I see that there's... Yes, reds and greens are neck and neck right now. Chaos is rampant at your house. Oh, darling. I'm going to need longer strings of emojis than that. Oh, goodness. There we are. Well, I do see more greens this time. Greens again. Very interesting. Oh, I need to turn up the brightness on this. There we go. Now I can see what's going on. All right. All right. Well, it looks like the greens have it once more. Let's see what happens with your green choice. Whilst that's going on, what's everyone sipping tonight? You switched to YouTube. Wonderful, wonderful. Good. How is the quality on Twitch over there? Crystal? I don't know if the quality is any good at all. I'm just sitting here. I'm just sitting here reading from the grimoire, wondering where everyone's gone to. Bear. Been that kind of week, eh? I'm doing something a little bit different. I'm getting caffeinated. Not with bloodthirst tea this time, but just good old-fashioned coffee beans. Good evening from Toronto, Canada. Hello, Tina Himos. Good evening. Greetings and salutations to you, darling. How are you tonight? Very lovely that you've found us. It's good, crispy, wonderful. I love hearing that. Though I do think I need to switch the focus a little bit. Bear with me. Where's my shutter? Watch. It's about to get crispier. There. If you had coffee this late, you'd be up all night. Well. You're well, thanks. How are you? I'm doing quite well. Thank you so very much. Very grateful to see those of you who are here tonight participating in the game. Which, by the way, is back on because we've got another answer. Hello, Lady Ravana. Darling, from one lady to another. Mwah, glorious to see you this evening, darling. Well, it gives me hope to see everyone starting to come in. I see the merfolk of the Patreon coming in. And I do see a few new faces. Wonderful. Thank you. It gives me hope that more of our people may be coming into the library, the laboratory, albeit tardy this evening. Well, if you had coffee that late, you'd be up all night. All right, now, Crystal, what time is it? I have not been awake for very long. I'm quite the nocturnal creature. All right, then. Subject 12. Just the number sends a shiver through you. Clinical, cold, devoid of humanity. No name, just a designation on a file buried underneath a dying city. And yet, her breath fogs the glass. She dreams in stasis. Something about her pulse in the pod feels like it echoes your own. But you resist the temptation to wake her. You turn away, boots splashing through the coolant as you move deeper into the lab. Flickering terminals hiss static, and shattered monitors still display fractured images, fragments of video logs, corrupted voice notes, redacted files. One console sparks as you pass, its interface miraculously still intact. You swipe your hand across the cracked screen, and the file loads. Project Stratum, Level 0A file log. Subject 12. Neural fusion successful. No rejection, no decay. Phase 3 trial halted. Incident log attached. She did not die, she evolved. Ooh. Powerful, adaptive, impossible to control. Containment breached. All other subjects terminated. She refused to follow the override. Note: Subject 12 is not human. Do not engage without clearance. She mimics memory. She wears faces. The screen glitches. More text appears, automatically decrypted from a locked file. Her voice. It was not hers anymore. She whispered something to me before the chamber collapsed. Something in my head, not in my ears. She said, "You brought me back. Now bring me the key." The lab shudders. Far above, something groans, like an elevator booting up, or a generator reluctantly returning to life. The pod hums louder. 12's fingers twitch. Her eyes remain closed, but... Are her lips moving? Is she speaking into silence? Now comes your choice, travelers. Red emojis. We return to the pod. Bring her the key, the one buried deep in your own neural drive, the reason they brought you here. Or green. Purge the console, erase all remaining files, and flee while you still can. She's waking up. The question is, will she remember you? Place your votes in the chat right now. Everyone, doesn't matter what platform you're on. Red choice, we return to the pod and bring Subject 12 the key she requested. Or green emojis, we purge the console completely and flee this laboratory. Come now. Oh, goodness, I see reds. The first thing. Reds. Hello, Jaden. Crystal, you're so funny, darling. Skipping back and forth. All these red emojis. Oh, goodness. Well, then. What on earth? What are we going to do? Oh, Tina, you enjoy strange and different content. Well, wonderful. That's great. That's all we do around here is strange and unique content. Thursday evenings, I moonlight in the moonlight as the Lady Scarlett Nightshade. Every other day of the week, my name is Siren, singer, multi-instrumentalist, voiceover artist, all of things having to do with the voice and being a siren. But Thursday evenings are very, very special because it's such a highly interactive evening. You all vote on every twist and turn of the stories that I read. Well, hello. How are you, Harley? I look ravishing. Oh, darling. Why, thank you, dear. So do you. All right. Red emojis it is. We're going to bring her the key. Let's find out what on earth is going to happen next. Is this the final choice? Is this the end? Or do we have we sealed our fate? Your breath catches. You don't know how you know, but you do. The key isn't a physical object. It's encoded inside you, embedded in your neural lattice, dormant until this very moment in time. Maybe it was always meant for her. Maybe that's why you woke up in the first place, in this tomb beneath the city, in the dead hum of Sector Zero. You are the key, and she is the lock. You return to the pod. The frost on the glass is melting, her breath fogging it from within, her lips still moving, chanting, whispering, sinking. You place your palm in the pod's interface, and the console lights up like a sun bursting through wires. Your nervous system ignites. A searing line of light arcs from your fingertips onto the console. Symbols spiral, commands initiate, and then the pod opens. A rush of freezing vapor spills out. Her body arches like she's breaking free of something far older than sleep. Her eyes snap open, void black, threaded with digital static. She sees you. No fear, no confusion, just recognition. It was always going to be you, she says, her voice inside your skull like velvet static. You were the last failsafe, the final override, and now the city burns unless we move. She rises barefoot from the pod. Her veins flicker with data, alive with power, alive with purpose. You sense the storm above rising, the corrupted code of the city bleeding through concrete and steel. The machines remember her. The networks are listening, and they know she's back. Oh, no. No, not tonight, not here. Not in this world. Tonight it's only you and her, a fugitive and a ghost, walking through the ruins of an empire that tried to erase them both. Your final thought before following Subject 12 into the dark is this. You were not sent to find her. You were made to awaken her. End of transmission. Such a great story. Maddie, hello, darling. Wonderful to make your acquaintance this evening. How are you? Oh, goodness. You've awakened her. We actually, Maddie, I must tell you, we choose every twist and turn of every single one of these stories that we'd read on Thursday evening chats. So, when you say it's a great story, Moonchild, hello, darling, wonderful to see you, dear. Well, such a great story. Well, you only have yourselves to thank. That's the whole point of that. If you think it's a great story, it's because you all voted on it in the chats. And so, with that, shall we go to another tale? Or shall we read from my biography, Bloodline? Which, by the way, Siren has secured the very first date. The very, very first date of the book signing tour. Book signing is on. So exciting. So very exciting. How is book club going in Patreon? Non-existent? I don't see very many updates happening about it, though. I have told Siren she needs to be a little bit more present there as well. Perhaps offering some little treats or some kind of little rewards. Perhaps some exclusive things, which may be coming up. I encourage Siren to do so much, though I don't know how often she actually listens to me. She should be listening to me every time, the keeper of the tomes, the mistress of the mysteries, the tamer of the typewriter. That's awesome. Yes, it is. It's so very exciting. Oh, it's such a glorious thing. Though, it is local. Siren shall be appearing on Friday, May 2nd at the Caffeine Cauldron inside the Tucson Mall in Tucson, Arizona. Signing copies of Bloodline, reading excerpts from the book, of course, meeting so many of you. It will be a delightful afternoon. And on behalf of her, I do hope that every single one of you get to enjoy. At least those of you who are local. And of course, we've got many, many more dates coming up. Grim Cat, hello, darling. Wonderful to see you tonight, dear. How are you? You just missed the very first story of the evening. It's all right. We're going to do another one. We're just doing a little bit of an update, a little bit of a chat, a little bit of a get to know each other type of thing, a little bit of an icebreaker, though it's always icy inside the West Wing Library of the Grotto. Well, what's going on? What is going on? I feel like I'm just talking into the ether and nothing's happening. No one's answering me, no one's responding to me. Quite frustrating, I don't understand. Please like the live, please share with everyone you know. Let everyone know what's going on. You would love a story? Grimcat, what on earth is going on with you, darling? How have you been? The fact that we all need a story tonight, including myself, must be an indicator that the stars are aligning. Perhaps outside of our favor this week? Look at all these beauties coming in. Yes, indeed. Aren't they all just lovely? Right then. You'd love a story, but you're at work, so you're less interactive than you wish. That's quite all right, Jade, and I understand completely. I do understand. All right then. Well, let's do another story then. You think a story was definitely in the cards. All right, then. Hauling boxes, getting a workout. Ah, wonderful. Oh, that's right. You're in the middle of doing some very exciting things this week. Well, then, what I shall do, then, is take a short break. Yes, I'll take a short break. I'll call up the next story. And I think tonight, for our long-format story, shall we do The Night Cyclist? It's been a while, though we do seem to celebrate every spring with a reading of our crowd favorite. Yes. Oh, goodness, yes. See now, Crystal, Amber, Lady, Ravana, you all know. You all have been here the longest. The very longest. And so you all know. You've all heard The Night Cyclist several times. But not our newer folks. Not our newer obsequious little possums. Oh, my goodness, you obsequious little ones. Thank you so very much for obeying all the rules of the game when we do play. But if that's what we're going to do, If the night cyclist is what it is, then that is what we shall do. All right then, darlings. I'll take a short break. Leave you with something, not sure what, and then I shall return within a few minutes to read to you. And it shall be our favorite, yes? A story of a man who appreciates the darkness, perhaps a little bit too much, and one night encounters something that interrupts his solitude. So, I shall return presently. You all invite everyone you can to the chat. Let everyone know that I'm here. Share it across every little social media platform you're on. I shall do the same. Let everyone know, because Siren, of course, gives me the passwords to everything. She trusts me implicitly. So, Darren Nelson, why did I stop my stream last time? I stopped my stream last time because I was tired. Sounds intriguing. Right then. Yes. Riding the bicycle at night, appreciating all the freedom, the night cyclist, and encountering something that not everyone should encounter. Encountering something that perhaps only the narrator of the story is entitled to see. Perhaps it was something he needs. Perhaps something that he needed to see in order to bring the rest of his life back into focus, to the forefront of his mind. Some unfortunate kismet. But I shall return. Watch the candles flicker. In the meantime, see you in just a few short minutes then. Nightfall Society, thank you so very much for being here. And, if you do have to leave in that time, no worries at all. We'll see you on the next one. Right then. I shall return presently, if you do the same. Right then. Shall we begin? For those of you who are joining me for the very first time tonight, and you're just here enjoying, ready for the next story, good evening to you. Every other day of the week, my name is Siren, singer, multi-instrumentalist, content creator, makeup, costumer, all the creative things. Though on Thursday evenings, I moonlight in the moonlight as the Lady Scarlett Nightshade, regaling you with tales of intrigue, terror, and mystery. Oftentimes, we start with a game where you choose every single twist and turn of the stories that come out of the magical grimoire. So, having said all of that, we begin tonight's long-format tale. A horror novelette about a middle-aged chef whose nightly bicycle ride home is interrupted by an unexpected encounter. Submitted for the approval of the Night Fool Society. The Night Cyclist by Stephen Graham Chapman. There must be no compulsion to hide the bodies. Otherwise, I'd have never found them. It was a Tuesday night. I was riding home after work, my leather roll of knives strapped across my back. I left my apron on the hook at the restaurant, but I still smelled like the kitchen. Before Doreen had moved out 2 months ago, she'd jokingly accused me of having a series of affairs at work, and that I was trying to mask the scent of all of those other women with garlic and turmeric. It had been funny, a running joke, at least until the new sous chef needed me to walk her through cleanup again after hours, and then leaned back into me while I was reaching round her to demonstrate where the fryer basket clicked in. I'd been with Doreen 4 years then, and the sous chef, what the cheating man says in stories is that she didn't mean anything, but that's not right. That's not fair. What she meant for me was a way out. So far, this is how my life's gone, pretty much. I do all this work to build a thing, in this case trust, a relationship, someone to watch stupid television with, someone who lets me sleep late because chefs keep different hours. Then, once the Jenga tower gets tall enough to look a little bit scary, I start pulling out blocks, seeing how far I can skeletonize my life before it all comes crashing down again. Taking the bike paths home each night after work, though, it reminds me that I wasn't always like this. There was a time. It was college. I was on the racing team. The university was buying us the latest bikes, sleek things, bullets with wheels. We weighed them in grams. And the sponsors were supplying us with the same shorts and helmets and gloves and glasses that the pros wore. And every day my legs were pumping, pushing, pedaling. That was the only time I hadn't started pulling out blocks, as it were. If college had lasted forever, I'd still be out riding, just zoning out at 40 miles per hour, choosing the line I was going to take, just like Coach was always saying, you have to choose your line. Coming home at 2 a.m, velcroed into my old racing shoes that have clips worn down to nubs. Dull little nubs, my pedals know, like a ball knows its socket. I could pretend that life had never ended, that it was still me, that I hadn't run Doreen off on purpose, that I wouldn't run the next Doreen off just the same. All the other kitchen staff who biked in and out, their bikes were these bulky hybrids. Some were even labeled comfort. The comfort in riding. It's not physical. It's spiritual. My bike's built for racing, still and always. Aggressive stance, the bar's dialed low, so you have to lie down at the top tube pretty much. Butt floss saddle, canted forward, like I'm a time trial racer. The only concession to middle age, I suppose, is the light clamped to the handlebars. Makes me feel old, but I'd rather feel older if I endoed into the creek. The trail between the restaurant and my apartment is lit up intermittently. These pale yellow discs you kind of float through. But there are plenty of long, dark tree tunnels over those 2.5 miles. Those tunnels are fun to shoot in the dark, don't get me wrong, but the dark isn't the thing to worry about. The whole year, there'd been a battle going on in the opinion pages of the newspaper. Motorists were bullying bikers. Bikers were kicking dents in defenders and doors. Nobody'd been hurt too bad yet, but it was coming. One of us was going to get nudged a bit too hard by a bumper. Nudged hard enough to get pulled under the car. And the motorist was going to walk for it like they always do, and then cyclists were going to be riding side by side from one ditch to the other, stopping traffic for miles. Happened before, it was happening again, even up in the mountains. Apparently, this was just going on from what I read as I stick to asphalt and concrete. The hikers had been sabotaging the trail against mountain bikers. Deadfalls, rocks, the occasional spike. Helmets or no, riders were getting hurt. And now it had come to town. For 5 nights in a row, there had been driftwood from the creek dragged up onto the trail. It was then I'd relented, finally started running the headlight. And the headlight was how I saw them. The bodies. 2 guys, young, floating in the shallows where the creek turns west. On the shore was a large piece of driftwood they'd been trying to dislodge, to drag up across the trail. It was too much for 2 people, but they were the only ones there. One of them was floating face down in the water. The other was on his back. His throat was gone. No blood seeping from it. They were on the news by 7 in the morning, the 2 dead kids, college students from one of the farming towns on the Eastern Plains. I had considered reporting them myself, but it was just a fluke of timing that I'd been the one to find them, I decided. Someone else would come along about daybreak. Boulders full of concerned citizens, people for whom it would be a rush to get involved. Me, I was tired. We had 2 new buses. You wouldn't think a couple of non-lifers that low on the food chain would change the dynamic of a kitchen that much, but dishes, they're our lifeblood. It had been chaos and emergency from the first group reservation on. I deserved to just come home, watch some vapid cop drama until the sun came up. Last bit of news I saw was the weather. The spring melt was coming down hard. Tonight the creek was going to be lapping at the concrete of the trail again. Awake again by 3 in the afternoon, I clamped my bike up onto the rack by the breakfast bar, by what would have been the breakfast bar, and administered to its various needs. Same way soldiers in movies are always taking their weapons apart and reassembling them. Old cyclists, we like to perform our own maintenance. Old. Oh, I'm even starting to say it. When Doreen was leaving for good and ever, was on her last walk through, to be sure, the last 4 years of her life were completely boxed up. We'd of course had to have it out a little. The main thrust of her accusation involved me just wanting to feel young again, that I'd never let the part of myself go completely, like other men did when it was time to grow up. I hadn't had any accusations for her to feed on, to cultivate, to take with her and coat with saliva like a pearl. Just apologies, and very little eye contact, and one last offer of the apartment, which we both knew had just been a gesture, as it had been mine when we'd met. For dinner, I ate sliced deli turkey straight from the container. Hang around the hospital for even 10 minutes and you'll see the nurses huddled up at the handicap entrance, stabbing cigarettes into their mouths. Hang round the chefs long enough, you'll find us in the fast food drive-thrus of the world. There we'll be, walking out of the gas station with a bag of chips for dinner, so we can have enough energy to plate some salmon at 60 per. The world doesn't make sense. I tune the news back on. The eyewitnesses, the senior citizen in a tracksuit with actual stripes on the sleeves and legs, was telling a story about finding the bodies. I watched the woods behind her, where the camera didn't mean to be looking. At first I thought I was looking for myself. Stupid, I know. But what I saw, what nobody else was seeing, was a pair of cycling glasses, hanging by their elastic band from the small, bare sapling pushing up through the dank brush, way over in the ditch you never falled into, because, you know, it's a literal dumping ground for the homeless population. What got me to hit the rewind button, then the pause button, it wasn't as simple as cast-off equipment, no. I've peeled out of I don't know how many sunglasses and gloves and jerseys while riding, just because I didn't have time to dispose of them properly, but needed the ounce of tool they'd free me of, see. What got me to hit the stop button was the color pattern on the elastic band. It was from a company that had been defunct since my junior year of college. And these glasses, they weren't for the sun. They were clear, the kind you wear when riding at night, when what you need is a gnat shield, goggles to keep you from tearing up, to keep the world from blurring away. And they were 10 years old at least. They had to be. I ate my turkey from the bag and kept those clear glasses paused on the screen, just watching them. My 20-year-old self would have been disgusted. But when it started drizzling at 5 in the afternoon and I was scheduled to meet the 2 new buses 20 minutes before dinner prep, 6, I accepted the ride downtown Glenda next door was offering. She asked after Doreen, said it had been too long since we'd been over for drinks. I agreed. Because she saw how I'd tried to shield my newly spotless bike from the water, loading it into her Honda's hatchback. She backed up between the restaurant's dumpsters for me. I grabbed my roll of knives, told her to drop in this week, tell the hostess she was my guest. And once again, she said she just might do that, thanks. Did she know Doreen was gone? Was this a game we were playing? I didn't know. But it was too late to stop. I nosed my bike into the space, past the line of coat hooks, chained it to the handrail like always. The components alone are probably $2,000. All campy, all high-end. And while I like to think restaurant staff are good people, I consider myself something of a realist. Only one of the bosses showed up for my hands-on training. I should have gone easy on him, repaid his loyalty or discipline or stupidity or whatever it was. But instead I just heaped all the attitude and scorn I had on him and told myself that this is how it is for everyone, starting out in the kitchen. You're tough or you're gone. It was chasing him off with this, then I was doing him a favor. He must have needed the work. The 3 times I came out to talk tables, the first was someone I'd worked with years ago, wasn't thrilled to see, but the other 2 were first dates, showing off their food IQ, but masking it as simpering complaints. I made sure to linger long enough to see whether the groups huddled on the wrong side of the hostess podium were glittering with raindrops or not. I'd left my bike at the restaurant overnight a few times before, either hitched a ride home with a server or manager, or just cabbed it, but I wanted to get out and stretch tonight if possible. Judging by my second 2 trips out to the dining room, dry shoulders from the hostess podium crowd, it just might be possible. Granted, there would be puddles, slick spot or 2, and my bike would need another thorough rub down once I got home. But the wind in my face would make it worth it. It always did. And after rain, the paths and bike lanes are usually devoid of traffic, completely lifeless. All mine. Coach used to always tell us to choose our line, to stay focused on that, not look anywhere else but the direction that you were going. It was advice that worked in the kitchen as well. The line I could see ahead of me, it led past clean-up, out the back door, down the bike lane for half a mile before swooping and banking onto the path for nearly 3 gloriously empty miles. In the alley, at 2 a.m, my clothes steamed at first. It always made me feel like I was just touching down in a strange atmosphere, my alien fabric off-gassing and adjusting. It was just temperature differential, of course. It had been happening since I first started washing dishes. Would clock out soaked from head to toe. Usually wasn't this wet by the end of the night. Had already paid those dues, but because I was ready to be shut out of the kitchen, and because the captain has to go down with the ship, I'd stepped in beside Manny, our dishwasher of 9 months. Can't help but getting sprayed, especially when you're dealing with ladle. But we got it done in half the time, racked the wine glasses so they wouldn't spot, and then I saluted him off into the night, hung my apron onto its hook, and rolled up my knives. I should have been using them to cut up the day-old bread for croutons. 10-minute job with nobody tugging on my sleeve, but screw it. Sometimes you just have to walk away. Feed yourself first, right? The bike lane away from the restaurant was as empty as I'd imagined. I leaned back from the bars, planed my arms out to the side like I was 12 years old again. What do people who lose that part of themselves do, I wonder? When Doreen had accused me of not growing up, I'd felt parentheses kind of form round my eyes. The question right there in my mouth. And? It's not some big social or emotional impediment to still be able to close your eyes and pretend to be an airplane. Some people hold on to that with video games. Some with books without space. Some with baseball or basketball or tennis, if their knees hold together. For me, it was a bike. For me, it was this. Soon enough, the path opened up just across the creek, inviting me to slalom down it one more time. But I stopped mid-bridge, still clipped in, my arms crossed on the rail on the uphill side. The melt was coming fast and hard. The surface of the water breathed like a great animal, the sides of the creek surging up just over the bank, washing the concrete of the path, and then retreating. I was definitely going to be up until dawn drying my bike out. Somebody, old and sensible, they probably would have gone the long way, the dry way. My only concession was turning my headlight on, hitching the strap of my knife roll higher across my chest like the bandolier it most definitely was. What do we think so far? What on earth do we think so far? Hello, lovely. Well, hello, dear. So very glad to see you. So very glad to see everyone tonight. Thank you so very much for being here. I must say, it is lovely to be reading for you once more again this evening. If you're here for the first time, let me know. Who are you? Where are you from? From whence do you hail? Make yourself known in the chat. So much going on. And thank you so very much for gifting over on TikTok. I do see that. Thank you. Whilst I'm reading, of course, I'm not checking the comments. I want to make sure to immerse you all in the story, of course. But delightful to see you all tonight. Oh dear, thank you so very much for gifting, darling. You're wonderful. Heart puffs, oh lovely. All right then. Mars is finally direct in Aries. Taurus season begins on Monday. Siren's very excited about that one. Though, she did tell me that this year she's decided to make the conscious choice to live in her Leo. And I think it's boding very well for her so far. I think we're going to keep it that way, aren't we? I believe. I've encouraged her to do so. I'm just glad that all of you are here. So very glad. Right then, back to the story. And, if you are joining for the first time tonight, thank you so very much, and I shall do the little story introduction one more time for you. Submitted for the approval of the Nightfall Society. The Night Cyclist by Stephen Graham Jones. The first mile, the water never even crested up over my valve stem. And down here by the creek, the sound was massive. It felt like the mountains were bleeding out. But I didn't forget the promise I'd made earlier. A mile into it, right at the bend where the creek turned west, I stepped my right foot over the top bar, rode saddle side on my left foot, and looked behind me at the rooster tail of the mist I was leaving. It was stupid. It was wonderful. Before the bike rolled all the way to a stop, I stepped down into the grabby muck, hitched the bike up onto my arm like I was racing cyclocross. What I was really doing was playing detective. The mud in the tall grass and brush and tangle of vines and trash turned out to be sloppier than I'd hoped. But I trudged and clumped up through it, picked those clear glasses off the naked sapling like the fruit they were. I'd been right that afternoon. These were seriously antique, from another decade of cycling gear. Usually something like this hung in the tree or set up on a rock with another rock there to keep it from blowing away. It was just what you did when you stumbled onto something somebody else had dropped. It was only kind. Surely they'd be back looking for it, right? This was too far out for that, though. There were closer places to the path to hang a piece of equipment. I stood there by the sapling, raised the wet glasses to my face and looked through them. At the shiny path, at the silhouette of trees waving back and forth, at the creek where the 2 college kids had been floating. For maybe 20 seconds, I couldn't look away from that bend. It was like I was seeing them again, like a puzzle piece in my head was nudging itself into some bigger picture. Before it could resolve, I looked over to the right. There was someone there, on a matte black aluminum bike. You can tell aluminum from carbon by the turns in the frame. Aluminum bikes, they're 10 years ago as well. And the rider. Where I was in kitchen rags like usual for the ride home, he was in tights. Not shorts or a bib, but some kind of wetsuit a surfer might wear. Slick black like a second skin, ankle to neck to wrist. It would have been terrible in the sun, and at night it would have been terrible as well, since there was no way your skin could breathe. To match the black seal suit, the cyclist also had black shoes and black gloves, a flash of pale skin at wrist and ankle. No helmet. Looking down to what I was holding. No glasses. I held them out across the muck, through the misting rain, and in response, the night cyclist, he snarled. I'd never seen anybody actually do that before, like a dog you were happy was on a chain. What? I said, Only loud enough for myself, really. He was already whipping his bike away, standing to granny gear as though the silt just under the water. When he looked back, his dank black hair was plastered to his white face, and his eyes, they were all pupil. Like smoke, like a whisper, he faded once he made the dry concrete. For maybe 10 seconds I considered what had just happened. And then I saw it for what it was, an invitation, a challenge, a dare. I smiled, splashed through the tall grass, ran past the deep water, and hit the concrete running alongside my bike, catapulted up into the saddle already shifting hard, my nostrils wide, because my lungs were about to need air. It had been too long since I'd already gotten the opportunity, the need to open up. Coach had diagnosed me early as a sprinter. He'd kind of sneered when he said it, like there was no hope, really. He'd work with me, sure, but I was what I was. For 4 years it made me faster, better, harder. He was right, though. I'm a born sprinter. I'll burn through my quads those first 2 miles, leave the whole pack in the dust. It was 1 mile until the trail nosed up into the canyon for 20 vertical miles. It was 1 mile in this night cyclist. He had only about a half-minute head start. If only Doreen could see me now. Where I finally saw him again, it was the pond, the low part of the trail had become, downtown. He was standing there, 1 foot down in the water. There was no way I was making any more noise than the flooded creek, but still, as soon as I rounded the corner, he whipped his head back, settled his black eyes back on me. I gave him a cocky, 2-fingered wave from my grips. He didn't wave back. He was watching the water again. My big plan was to walk my bike up beside him so as to keep him from whipping water into his face. Not like we weren't both already soaked, but manners are manners, even at 2 a.m, in the dark, in the rain. He never gave me a chance. I was 50 feet away when he hauled his bike round, rode the lapping edge of the water, through the wet grass, all the way up the road, stepped down just long enough to lift his bike up onto the cracked sidewalk that runs up there. He didn't lift his mic because he didn't have momentum. He'd climb. He just made would have been tax my sprinter's legs in their prime. He lifted it because road bike rims, especially old aluminum ones, like he was running, they'll crimp in from that kind of action. I bared my teeth, just as he'd done. And I gave chase, having to run my bike up the last 10 or 15 yards when my narrow road tires started to gouge into the mud. By the time I clipped on the sidewalk, he was receding back, dot in the car lane. I ramped down the curb at the handicap place, gave my bike every last bit of myself I had. We took the turn, on the road, not the path, up into the canyon, maybe 10 seconds apart, him running the beginning of the red light, me catching the end of it, leant over too far for wet asphalt, but I did not care anymore. My left pedal snagged on the blacktop, hitching the arse end of the bike over the hiccup, but the tire caught somehow and I rode it out. Watching my lane. I was watching my line. It led straight to him. He looked just back like Coach was forever telling us not to, but it didn't slow him or tilt him, even a little. Half a mile after the turn, the road started its wicked uphill slope. Twice I'd gone up it. That was 15 years ago, and the road had been barricaded off for an event. And I'd still been pretty sure I was going to have to sag-wagon it. Not because I was a sprinter, because I was human. I'd promised myself never again. But this was now. This was tonight. I geared down, stood on the cranks. He was there in my headlight, not riding away, just crosswise in the road like a barricade himself. I rear-braked, my rooster tail slinging just past without me, like my intentions were going where I couldn't. The night cyclist wasn't smiling. He wasn't anything. He was just looking at me. I've got your... pulling the clear glasses away from my neck against the elastic. He turned and huffed, uphill, and because I had to jump, I'd figured I'd be alongside him in 2 shakes. Wrong. He was faster on the climb than I was. I wasn't even close, even with me screaming for my lungs to be deeper, for my legs to be younger, for the grade to flatten out. It was like the mountain was sucking him uphill. And when he looked back on the first turn, his mouth wasn't haggard or gasping like mine. He was calm even, not winded in the least. 2 miles into it, blood in my throat, I had to stop. I threw up over the guardrail, collapsed across it, not caring how it was chiseling into my midsection. No headlights came along to hitch me down the hill into town. "What are you?" I said to the night cyclist, wherever he was. Miles away by now, I thought. Or watching me from the trees. I tried to bore into darkness, to catch his outline there, but when I was throwing up again from deep, deep inside, when I was dry heaving all the years between who I was and who I had been, and then I climbed back into the saddle like the ragdoll I was, rode my brakes home, taking the roads this time. I was bonked by the time I crawled into my living room. The adrenaline had burnt through all the blood sugar I had, left me in the hole for more. I couldn't remember the last time this had happened. I didn't miss it. It was like having sludge for blood, and having to look at the world through one narrow, long straw. I settled my bike against the back of the couch in exactly the way I never do. It was Doreen's couch. Unrolled my knives on the counter to be sure the oiled leather had kept them dry. And then I ate great heaping handfuls of corn chips and chocolate morsels from the pantry. Not because that's any kind of magic formula, but because that was the first thing I saw. It took 10, 12 minutes, but I finally woke up enough to rack my bike, dry it with the hand towel from the kitchen, even going so far to twist off the valve stem caps, blow any lingering droplets in there back into my face. Only after my bike was properly stabled did I change into dry clothes myself. Just some mountain bike shorts I'd only bought because they were on clearance and I'd credited the store. They were my house shorts. Had a pocket right in the front thigh. My phone dropped into it perfectly. I turned on the television to see if our race had been documented. But all up and down the dial it was just cop shows, sentenced to 10 years, hard syndication. The first time I awoke, still watching, I rolled off the couch, checked to make sure the front door was secure. Never trust yourself when your blood sugar's flatlined. And then climbed into bed, on what I was still calling my side. The way I turned the lamp off in the living room was by shutting my eyes. What do we all think? What on earth is going to happen? Jaden, what happened? Oh, you clicked. You accidentally just scrolled out of the live. That's quite all right, darling. You have no idea. Right. Don't know what on earth's going to happen next with the story, right? That's why it's such a favorite. That's why I love this author so very much. We have another story of his that we like to read as well, but let's move on to this one. Let's find out what happens after he opens his eyes, perhaps. Make sure to take a sip, everyone. The next time I woke, I wasn't completely sure that's what I'd just done. The way my legs were still both burning and noodled at the same time, I thought for a second that maybe I was at the end of a long ride years ago. Something up in the peaks, in the thin, crisp air, permanent snow back in the shadows of the evergreen. Was that where he lived, I wondered, the night cyclist? Except nobody could make that ride up the canyon. Any sane person could fork over the change for the bus. But this night cyclist, he hadn't had a pack, hadn't had a rack on his bike. If he did live up the hill, what was he even down here in the big wet for? Exercise? Recreation? That would be more like suicide, having to make that climb after bopping all around town in the dark. And yeah, now that was on the table. The dark. No light. Nothing reflective to him at all. Like he just wanted to whip past. Be already gone by the time the smear had been registered to anybody on the trail that late. "What are you?" I said aloud. But the comforter muffled my voice, which was good. There was a shadow stretched out through the open doorway of my bedroom. My heart gorged up into my throat. And then, like my heart was that loud, the head of that shadow cocked round in a way I knew, a way I remembered. It was him. My first response was to curl deeper into the safety of my comforter. My next response, though, was to ask him how he'd done that, how he'd sprinted uphill away from me, a born sprinter, and on a relic of a bike at that. Keeping the blanket round my shoulders, I stood, hushed over it, into the doorway. For some reason superstitious about stepping directly into his shadow. Like it was a well I could fall into. Like that blackness was going to leach up through the print of my bare feet. I don't know. It was instinctual. It was automatic. It was polite. In magical places, you make all obeisance you might think proper. He knew I was there. He probably clocked my approach from the exact instant I'd stopped breathing. What he was holding and considering, it was his clear glasses. The reason he was considering them, it was that I'd put them on the plate Doreen had decreed the home for all glasses. The reason he was reconsidering them, it was that right there in the bowl were mine. The daytime ones, polarized, iridescent, and my night ones, clear and sleek, the elastic tight and young. My clear ones were enough of an update on his that they were practically a reinvention. He looked up to me. His face, it was cut stone, harsh, angular, pale, and those eyes, I'd been right last time. The pupils or irises or whatever, they were blown out. There was hardly any white. Of course, he didn't need a headlight. Creatures of the night, they get along just fine in the darkness. There were no eyebrows either. "What happened to you?" I almost said. Then, his thighs. I hadn't seen him ride. I'd have never clocked him for a serious cyclist. A rider who can rabbit up the canyon even just a mile or two without breaking a sweat. His quads should be jawed put out past any denim could ever contain, with thick, veined calves to match, like gorilla forearms. His legs, though, they were slender, smooth, probably pale as his face, pale as those wristlets of white between his gloves and sleeves, between the cuff of his tights and the crescent of his shoe tops. He must be corded like steel, wound tight. At which point, finally, I cased the front door. It was shut, the deadbolt still twisted tight. Meaning, yep, right on cue. The drapes over the sliding glass door billowed in and sighed back out onto the balcony. The third floor balcony. I know what you did to those kids in the creek, I said. Before they were in the creek, I mean. It was supposed to be what kept him from coming for me. Knowledge. Except, idiot that I am, I'd made sure that he knew that the only place that knowledge lived, it was in my head. Dig that out and he'd have nothing to worry about. Didn't have to, I added. They were never going to get that log moved. He just stared at me, evaluating me. It felt like... How long had it been since anyone attempted a conversation with him, I wonder now? If he had spoken, if he could, what would he have even said after so long? Would he have asked why a die-hard cyclist was defending those who would do violence to cyclists? Looking back, my guess is that he couldn't speak at all. Not without showing me his teeth. I didn't invite you in here, I said to him, my bulk with the comforter filling the doorway. To show how little threat I was, he turned away from me, studying his glasses again, then raising them to inhale their scent. Didn't wear them, I said. Not really. What was he smelling? It was the sweat on my band, from when they'd been around my neck, from when I'd been chasing him. In a moment's association then, I knew that was how he'd found me here on the third floor of an apartment building miles away from the last place I'd seen him. He'd picked my scent out of all the smells in the city. Out of all the thousands of all the bodies out after dark, he'd known me through the rain. I swallowed the sound of it crashing in my ears. He'd come here because I'd seen him. He'd come here because he couldn't be seen. You don't ride in the sun, do you? I said. It wasn't really a question. I nodded down to the glasses he was still considering. Those stores, they're only open in the daytime, so you can't update your gear. I could tell by the new stillness about him that he heard me, but he didn't look up. Take 'em, I said. Slowly, by labored degrees, he looked over to me. Mine, I said. Take them. You need them. Because it wasn't in him to leave evidence behind. He hooked his down over his neck, like I'd worn them. Settled mine round his head, then continuous lens cocked up on his forehead. When he lowered them, the dents left from the elastic's pull didn't fill with the red color. But I'd known that wasn't going to happen. You're fast, I said to him. I used to be fast. He looked up to me for what I knew was the last time. I knew it was the last because there was a grin spreading across his face. No, not a grin. A sneer. What he was saying was that he was fast. The fastest. That he didn't need lungs. And he slept. Where he slept, it was probably burrowed into a hole somewhere up the canyon, under a rock ledge, in a cave only him and the marmots and the chipmunks knew about, and whatever beetles and grubs can live in gaspy thin air without the sun. The moment his grin flashed into a smile, I saw the dirty yellow sharpness past his lips, and it took an involuntary step back. That was all it took to spook him. He moved like quicksilver over the couch, past the rattan stools, and on to the balcony. I rushed over after him to see him silently touching down or swimming through the night air. But he was already gone. I should have expected nothing less. 3 nights later, the waters receded from the bike path. I hadn't been riding to and from work. Doreen had called, actually, just to talk. I told her to swing by the restaurant soon, that I'd make her favourite, like old times. Her breath hitched a bit over that. 4 years. That's a long time. For me, too. Old movie fan, 1973. Hey all, God bless. Well, hello. And you'd need to be careful, she said, when we were both siding off awkwardly. Awkward, because we'd been saying the same thing at the end of every call for so long. What were we supposed to say now? Careful, I said. Those 2 kids who died, she said. They weren't riding, I told her. Just be careful. I promised her I would, and we somehow broke the connection. It was my night off. What she'd said, though, it was a challenge, wasn't it? You only have to be careful when you think something can really happen to you. When you're 20, 25, nothing in the world can touch you. To prove that still applied to me, I unclamped my bike from the rack, checked the tire pressure front and back, then nodded to myself about this, trucked us downstairs to the sidewalk that had led the path that ran alongside the creek, up the canyon if I followed that far. It was 1, 2 in the morning, late enough that the hand-in-hand lovers would be bedded down someplace secret, late enough that all the smokers who'd promised they'd quit went out for one last drag. Just me and the creatures of the night. My headlight only stabbed 15, 20 feet into the darkness. To show I could, that I still had those legs, I pumped hard for the black space of the mountains. I knew better than to try and make the whole climb, but even a little would prove something. I made it the same 2 miles, not pushing hard, just steady climbing, before I wheeled round, rode gravity back to town. 2 homeless men, tuned into nature better than the usual baby stroller crowd, stepped away from each other to let me slip between them at 30 miles per hour. I nodded thanks, but it was an empty gesture. You're going too fast for it to register, and you can't ever check back to see if they even saw your gratitude. Empty gestures are what make the world go round, though. I swooped under 2, 3 bridges, pedaling, though I didn't really need to. There was still silt in the concrete. It crunched under my tires like sugar granules. Careful, I said again to myself, just retasting the word, mining into it for what Doreen had really been trying to get across. I looked down, shut my eyes. I was on a straightaway, the one that tunneled through the next quarter mile or so of trees, watching my top tube coast back and forth instead of doing the first thing Coach always said, keeping my eye on the line that I was taking. My headlight was what saved me from myself. A piece of driftwood, obviously dragged up onto the path, doing it without thinking. It was years too late to stop. I bunny-hopped the wood. When you're clipped in and your bike goes 11 pounds, you can do this. I came down with both tires at once, like's proper if you want to keep control, and had to skid immediately as clearing the next chunk of driftwood would only land me onto a 3rd piece. This was not just a symbolic attempt to sabotage the trail. This was to set up to hurt any rider who came at it with the head of speed. I didn't wipe out, though. It was close. But I knew to cantilever out ahead, to keep hold of the bike so it didn't crash into me, send us both spinning into the darkness. It was a once in 50 tries dismount, but I landed it. Breathing hard from the close call, all the profanity I knew welling up in me, I looked back. It what almost was, what should have been if I hadn't just cashed in all my luck for the next 10 years, and then I directed my headlight ahead onto the turn to what other obstacles awaited. The night cyclist's white face looked back to me. His white face and his red mouth and chin, his deep black eyes. I flinched. But then I realized why he wasn't already at my throat. He was impaled on the seat post of his own bike. He was impaled just like I would be if I hadn't reeled all my speed in. But my speed, it had probably only been half of his. I could see what had happened, too. Like me, he'd bunny-hopped over the initial chunk of driftwood, but, going faster, his hop had carried him farther, into the next strategically placed driftwood. It had been too much to recover from. He'd probably fallen over sideways, slapped the concrete of the trail hard. But he was going fast enough that instead of splatting onto a skid, he bounced and he cartwheeled. Then his bike was right there with him, coming apart at the welds, components spinning up into the night sky. Specifically, his seat. Only the clamp hadn't let go. The seat post had snapped. A carbon fiber seat post. It would have splintered. Would be showing thread. An old-style aluminum post like he was running, though, it'll snap off near the saddle, leave a ragged tube. A hollow spear. The night cyclist had hit a tree with his back, hard. And an instant later, the bike's seat post, still extending from the bike itself, had jammed through his sternum. The blood around that wound, it was black, even at this distance, not red like the blood at his mouth. I adjusted the strap across my chest, only just then realized I had my knives with me. They were clean, like always, but I could tell from the flare of his nostrils that he knew what I was wearing. That this was just one more insult the night had for him. One more stupid thing between him and wherever he was going. His lips thinned, his teeth baring, but before he could complete the display, he whipped his head over to the left. I looked too. Nothing. No sound. And then there was. Not voices, not brush and branches parting. At first I thought it was the two dead boys from the creek risen, but one of them had shaped sideburns this time, the other a shaved head. Different college kids. What they were carrying was a double-bit axe and a camp hatchet, one of those kinds with a textured hammer on the backside. And then I realized exactly where we were, at the bend in the creek. It's why I thought they were the dead boys risen. These were their friends, then. The other night, they'd tried to muscle that big log up onto the trail. This night, they'd come back with proper tools. To finish the job the night cyclist had interrupted, and to avenge their fallen comrades as they probably saw it. When one of them dragged the flashlight up to the night cyclist, I saw that his chin and mouth, their redness, wasn't from himself. That double bit and hatchet was still standing. That meant that a few minutes ago they'd been 3. I finally tracked down the night cyclist's feet, and there was the body that had to be there. The boy who stepped too close to taunt. At which point his 2 friends had decided to go for tools, for weapons. They still hadn't seen me, because bicycles, when properly greased, are quiet. I laid my bike down into the grass, unlimbered my roll of knives, spread them out before me. I didn't know for sure that double-bit and hatchet could kill the night cyclist like they wanted. They'd still have to get close. But the sun would be coming up eventually, And if he was still pinned to the tree, then they might as well have killed him. The night cyclist saw me stepping forward, but did not move a muscle on his face. And because his eyes showed so little white, even if he was watching me, the two still coming at him wouldn't have been able to tell. Double Bit hit him once, swinging his great axe like a baseball bat into the night cyclist's shoulder. And then Hatchet came not at the night cyclist, but at that bike. He caught it on the bottom bracket with the hammer side, the full force of his impact travelling up and down the aluminum frame, driving the seat post deeper into flesh. The night cyclist didn't even grunt. The black blood just slipped from his mouth, oiled his chin and chest. He did smile, though. What do you have to smile about? Hatchet screamed, bouncing like a boxer on his toes, wrapping up to swing again. Double Bit smiled, seemingly pleased with how the night was falling out, but he caught me in his peripheral vision too. At the last possible instant, he turned away just fast enough that my paring knife caught him across the open mouth. Instead of his temple, like the blade crossed between his upper and lower teeth, the dagger point nicking a bunched-up jaw muscle at the back of his mouth on both sides. I was pretty sure. He reeled back from the pain into the mouth of the night cyclist, open just as wide as his now was, like a snake about to swallow an egg. When the night cyclist bit in, some of the blood spattered into my face. I was wearing my backup clear glasses, but still, I flinched and blinked. This, all in a moment, cut so thin it was nearly transparent. In the next moment, Hatchet was turning to me. I flipped the paring knife round and grabbed him by the tip as if to throw. On the cycling team, we'd fake lob a water bottle high to someone and then spray them hard with the water bottle we secretly had. And while Hatchet and his arm raised to protect his face, I drove my 8-inch knife up into his belly, digging for the diaphragm. Maybe I caught it, I don't know. He fell back into the night cyclist's bike. Fell back hard enough to crack it up to the side, out to the night cyclist. And then the night changed. The night cyclist slumped down, free of the seat post, his hair hanging over his face, and inside I was screaming at myself to run, to hide, to leave this place, but Hatchet was already coming for me, holding his guts in with one hand, his weapon high in the other. He would have got me, too, if the night cyclist hadn't stabbed a hand forward, dug his sharp fingers into Hatchet's calf. Instead of pulling Hatchet's throat to him, instead of climbing hand up to Hatchet's throat, he simply pulled the calf to his mouth, and with Hatchet face down in the muck now, he drank deep, his Adam's apple working up and down with each swallow. His eyes, they never left mine. When Hatchet was drained, just his foot spasming, the night cyclist pulled himself over to Double Bit, drank some more there as well. And then he rolled over, convulsing in the mud, holding his shoulder. I could have run then, I don't know. But I didn't. When he could, he stood weakly, looked up the path, the way he'd come, and then back the other way. We were alone. He lurched forward for his ruined bike. No, I said. He stopped, studied me, his eyes showing real fatigue for the first time I'd seen. Shaking my head no, I pointed with my paring knife back to the bike in the grass, the one he could surely smell. He looked into that tall grass and then back to me. Take it already, I said, and nodded to the bike. Need to put this one out of its misery. His front wheel was tacoed. One drop was lower than the other, and one of the cranks had bent in under the top chain ring. Let's try that one again, shall we? His front wheel was tacoed. One drop was lower than the other, and one of the cranks had bent in under the top chain ring. I couldn't imagine going that fast through the darkness alone. It was a rush just thinking about it. "What the hell are you?" I said when he took the first step bikeward, though I knew. In reply, he took my paring knife forearm in the cold grip of his good arm, pulled the meat of my right hand up to his mouth. He opened, slow. His teeth were impossible. I had my big knife in the other hand, but might as well have been someone else's hand. He lowered his teeth onto my skin, his eyes never leaving mine, and I understood what he was offering. Eternal youth, night rides, forever, going faster than I'd ever dreamed. He was offering to share the night with me. What had my scent told him, revealed to him? Standing in the living room of my apartment, had he smelled the flavor of Doreen's last accusations? I don't put anything beyond him or his kind. When his teeth brushed my skin, I didn't jerk back, but I did hear myself say it, my eyes welling up. No. He stopped, looked up into my face. "I'm going to call her back," I said, trusting he knew what I was talking about. Who? He held my eyes for a moment longer, long enough for me to consider exactly what I was giving up here. Then he nodded, pushed my arm back to me. He licked his lips, dabbing a bit of the dried blood, and then his eyes snapped up the path. "Company, soon?" "Go," I told him, and when he walked by, I smelled it on him, from him, the decay. If he ever peeled out of his suit, it must smell like the grave for acres in every direction. Part way to my bike, he scooped up my leather roll, slung it back to me as if it was something any chef could possibly ever just leave lying there. Then he leaned my bike up from the grass, stepped across the tube, and then back off to adjust the seat. Not with a multi-tool, but by pinching the clamp's bolt between his fingers. When he stood under the pedals, the bike was dialed perfect for him. He clipped in with both feet, just balancing there. Getting the feel of his new machine, he liked it, but sensed the speed locked in its geometry. And then, without looking back, he powered away into the silhouette of the Flatirons, which at night are the maw of a great cave. Who he must have passed, who showed up 2-3 minutes later. It was a pregnant woman and a guy. They were bundled up, both crying over something, I never knew what. He let him pass, though, the night cyclist. He surely needed even more blood to rebuild himself, but he needed worse to ride. I understood. With every part of myself, I understood. When the couple got to me, the pregnant woman yelped, stumbled back. I was standing in the gore of 3 more college kids, both my knives dripping, bug-eyed under the clear glasses, my face splattered with blood. And this? This is why I love the world, why I'm going to cook Doreen's favorite meal tomorrow, just to take it to her. The man, scrawny and useless as he was, stepped in front of her, to stand between her and the monster I looked to be. There's no compulsion to hide the bodies, I said to them like a joke, spreading my arms as if to showcase my night's work. Words and a gesture that could be on the national news by morning. Then I bowed once, stepped back into the darkness, came out onto the path a half-mile later, walked up onto the plank bridge, my knives clean, and then they'll roll again. The waters were surging beneath me, inexorable, going for miles and miles, for centuries. I patted the rail's cold steel and walked on across. Home. The end. Oh, glorious, glorious to read that one to you all once again. Ah, incredible, incredible. Do you know that was written in 2016, published 2016? Oh, Jonesy, you've done it. Done it again. Incredible story. Never fails to excite, delight, and terrify. So intense. What an intense story, eh? Oh, I do love it so. I do love it so. No wonder. It's an audience favorite. Oh, goodness. Though, after talking about all of that feasting the night cyclist did, I'm a little peckish myself. You loved it. I loved it too. And so with that, another long format story down here in the West Wing Laboratory of the Siren Grotto. Did you all enjoy yourselves tonight? I certainly hope so. It's always such an incredible pleasure reading for you here in the West Wing, I must say. My goodness. So, any more commentary? Any more? Time for some sustenance. Indeed. Always time for some sustenance. Ah, yes, there's always time for typo. I loved it, yes, thank you. Ah, good, wonderful. Well, thank you, Grimcat. I do appreciate you so. You had an absolute blast. Wonderful, wonderful, crazy bitch. You are indeed so crazy, and I do love you for it. Emily, yes, always enjoying. Loved tonight, Amber. Oh, goodness. I love you too. So very much. Don't even realize just how much. 2 hours, 7 minutes. Less than a 10-minute break tonight, I believe. That one, we got through that one quite quickly, didn't we? I think that one is going to make its way onto YouTube. I'm pretty impressed with my own reading, I must say. And so, any other questions? Any questions for me? Is there anything else? Did we not cover any news? Did we not cover anything that we're doing or not doing? Long format stories are resuming. Content, actual short and long form content was filmed. You'll be very excited to know. Planning week in the month of April worked out much better than the planning week of the month of March, I must say. And now, as Taurus season approaches, Siren's very excited about that one, since she is the latest possible Taurus. More Poe. So funny you should mention that, yes. Yes, as a matter of fact. There shall be more Poe. Have to keep adjusting. I think I need to find a little bit of a screwdriver. My magic wand. My magic wand takes care of the candles behind me. Though, unfortunately, It does not take care of the screws that are inside this microphone stand, this delightfully human contraption. Yay, happy dance, yes! Yes, more poetry. Oh, darlings, you have no idea what I have in store for you all. For all of you, it's so delightful, so delightful. All I can do is sit and rock back and forth in my seat with delight at the things which you shall see and hear forthwith. No, you quite literally have no idea. No idea. I haven't even revealed it to the moderators. I haven't even revealed it to Siren's team. It's all under lock and key. All a big secret. Not even known to those who sit on the throne here at the home. Not even my father in the House of Nightshade. No one knows just exactly how much or what interesting, different content. I will say, though, that there is a little bit of a surprise coming. A little bit of a surprise. One of our littlest merfolk, one of our smallest merfolk, actually composed 2-sentence terrors for me to recite. And I must say, this little mermaid has quite the imagination. Quite the terrifying imagination, I must say. Siren was greatly impressed, passed her review, and so Merfolk requests are now officially a part of the Siren Grotto Patreon. You made it, Moonshade! Hello! Just as we're about to leave. Oh, yes. I just got finished with our long format story for the evening. We finished our story game a little over an hour ago, I want to say. Yes, I know, but I just informed the entire chat that one of our littlest merfolk composed 2-sentence terrors for me to read, and they did indeed pass Siren's review. So, they were met with quite a lot of approval, and as I am the ward of the Siren Captain, she's the one who has the final say about what it is I actually recite. So, expect great things. I delivered the raw materials, the raw footage to her last week. And so you'll be seeing it very shortly. Did anyone see my portrait? Siren made me into a magazine cover for today's stream announcement. Did everyone see it? I thought she did a wonderful job. I think she did swimmingly. She even chose the photo that I took in this outfit for it. I was so very proud. I had to wear it again. Pardon. You missed it. You looked ravishing. Why, thank you, darling. I should like to think so as well. Though my wardrobe has grown again, in accordance with Grotto scripture. I'm staring at it right now. Well, staring at the pile. Pretty soon I shall deserve my entire own closet in the grotto. Right then. I am going to close the grimoire for tonight. I would certainly say that tonight was a bit of an epic. One of our best yet since the triumphant return to weekly streaming. Yes? I must say so myself. Good night to all. Sorry you missed it tonight. I'm sure it's... Well, the replay shall be available on YouTube as soon as humanly possible. And inhumanly, of course. Good night. Good night, Grim Cat. Good night to everyone who's watching. Good night to all the lurkers out there who may be lurking and not saying a single word at all. Good night to all. Good night, indeed. Let's say it together, shall we? As we ceremoniously turn off the candles. They have done impeccable work for tonight, wouldn't you say? Let's put them out, put them to bed for another week, shall we? Goodbye. And let's put this one out as well. And I shall return to my study to compose even more delightful, original writings for you, some of which you shall be able to see on Patreon. Make sure to check those out. Coming in the next several days, I shall keep the moderator team updated so that they can inform Siren of what's going on as well. Since I seem to have a better hold of what's going on in the grotto than Siren does, I'll make sure to let everyone know and keep everyone as informed as possible. And since you're all human, I'll say as humanly possible. Right then, darlings. Say it with me now. To efficiency, enterprise, and ingenuity, and, as always, I remain humbly your night narratrix, the tamer and temptress of the typewriter, the Lady Scarlett Nightshade. Pleasant nightmares.